For centuries, we've talked about having a gut feeling, right? About a decision, maybe a person.
Mm-hmm.
But the science, well, it's telling us now this isn't just some metaphor for intuition. It's actually the reality of a physical conversation happening inside you, like right now.
Exactly.
We're talking about this nonstop dialogue between your brain and, well, your digestive tract.
That's absolutely right. And our mission today is to really take a deep dive into that superhighway, the anatomical one, the chemical one, the one connecting these two really powerful organs.
The gut-brain axis, GBA.
The GBA, exactly. We're
Yeah.
pulling together the most, compelling facts from the research. We want to identify the precise nerve structures, the chemicals and microbes make, and the specific foods that are actively influencing your mental and physical health.
Okay, let's unpack that. When we say connection, we mean actual wires and chemicals, right? Not just like distant neighbors sending messages sometimes. How deep does this wiring go?
Oh, it's profoundly wired. It's a staggering amount of cellular machinery. We all know the brain is immense, right? Operates with something like 86 billion neurons.
Yeah, a huge number.
But here's the thing most people don't realize. Your digestive tract, it houses its own massive kind of localized nervous system.
Massive. How? Like compared to the brain?
Well, not 86 billion, but your gut contains around 168 million neurons.
168 million, just in the gut.
Just in the gut. That's a colossal number. It creates what scientists sometimes call the second brain. And it's not just pushing food along, it's constantly monitoring, processing, communicating back to the command center in your skull.
Wow. 168 million neurons. That really puts the scale of the gut's own intelligence, I guess, into perspective. So if the gut is this powerhouse, how does it physically connect to the brain across that distance?
So the primary physical link is the vagus nerve.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, think of it like a massive fiber optic cable. It links the gut and the brain. And crucially, it's a two-way street. Signals go from the brain down to the gut, controlling digestion.
Right. Standard top-down.
Way more signals, maybe up to 80%, are actually traveling from the gut up to the brain.
80%, seriously?
Yeah.
Going up?
Yes. That's how the state of your digestive system, your gut environment, directly influences things like mood, stress, even how you think.
Okay, that structural wiring is key. But you also mentioned chemistry. When we talk GBA, we have to talk neurotransmitters, right?
Mm-hmm.
We mostly think brain chemicals.
We do, but that's one of the big surprises here. The sources indicate the gut is actually a main production facility for some really famous ones.
Like which ones?
Well, take serotonin, the one linked to mood, learning, memory.
Happy chemical, yeah.
Its highest concentration isn't actually in the brain. It's produced by special cells, the enterochromatin cells, deep in the small intestine, in the gut.
That is a huge insight, especially, for people who just think serotonin equals brain happiness.
Exactly. Serotonin in the gut is doing a lot. It influences how fast or slow your bowels move. It signals nausea, regulates your appetite. And yes, it still influences mood and sleep by communicating along that vagus nerve highway we talked about.
Okay, but it gets even more specific, right? Because you mentioned the microbes themselves are making chemicals.
Oh, absolutely. The actual community of bacteria living inside you, they are manufacturing human neurotransmitters.
That's wild. Like what?
Well, like GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid.
Okay, GABA, that's the calming one in the brain, right? Reduces anxiety.
That's the one. Essential for calming the nervous system. So the fact that your own gut bacteria are synthesizing a chemical that helps control feelings of fear and anxiety, it just shows how deeply interwoven your tiny residents are with your actual psychological state.
Okay, so bacteria making anxiety regulators.
Yeah.
Let's build on that. What about other bacterial outputs? You mentioned short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs.
Yes, SCFAs. This is where the chemistry gets really interesting. It goes from influencing mood to actually influencing the structure of the brain's own protection system.
How does that work? What are SCFAs exactly?
So SCFAs like butyrate, propionate, acetate, they're produced when your gut microbes digest the fiber you eat, from plants, whole grains.
Stuff we don't digest ourselves.
Exactly. They're basically products of healthy fiber metabolism by the bacteria.
Okay, I know SCFAs are good for the gut lining itself, but how do these byproducts of eating fiber get all the way up to the brain and help build walls?
It's a pretty remarkable mechanism. Butyrate, especially. It seems to be critical for supporting the structural integrity of the blood-brain barrier, the BBB.
The BBB, that's the really tight gatekeeper for the brain, right? Keeps toxins out.
Precisely. It's super selective, protects the brain from pathogens, toxins, anything nasty in the blood getting into the central nervous system.
So how does butyrate, this gut bacteria product, actually help that barrier? Is it like physical bricks or signaling?
It's more like signaling that has structural results. Butyrate seems to communicate directly with the cells that form the barrier, the endothelial cells. It helps reinforce the tight junctions between them.
Ah, so it tightens the seals between the cells?
Kind of like mortar reinforcing the wall, yeah. The research really suggests that the microbes that produce butyrate are therefore pretty essential for keeping that BBB strong and less permeable, less leaky.
Okay, that makes sense. And it highlights that these microbes aren't just making SCFAs, are they? They're running a whole chemical conversion factory down there.
They really are. Gut microbes metabolize all sorts of complex stuff we can't break down fully ourselves. They handle bile acids, normally for fat absorption, and they process amino acids.
To make other chemicals that affect the brain.
Exactly. Producing other complex metabolites that travel through the system influence brain function. It's this constant cycle of like detoxification and creation.
And inevitably, when we talk about barriers and what gets into the bloodstream, we have to talk about the immune system and inflammation.
Absolutely unavoidable. A huge chunk of our immune system is located right there, next to the gut lining.
Makes sense. It's a major interface with the outside world.
Exactly. So the gut and its microbes are absolutely pivotal in controlling inflammation body-wide. They regulate what gets passed into the body. The trouble starts when that system gets, well, overwhelmed.
And if the immune system is constantly triggered, you get chronic inflammation, which the source is linked to some really serious brain conditions.
Precisely. If those inflammatory signals stay on for too long, you end up with this chronic sort of low-grade inflammation simmering away. And the sources draw pretty clear links between that chronic state and what we see in disorders like depression and even Alzheimer's disease.
Okay, this brings us to that idea of a compromised barrier, the leaky gut concept, and specific inflammatory toxins. This feels like an area we need to tread carefully. It sounds complex.
It is, and it's an active area of research. But let's talk about lipopolysaccharide, LPS.
Okay.
So LPS is a potent inflammatory toxin. It's actually part of the cell wall of certain common gut bacteria in a healthy gut with a strong barrier.
It stays inside the gut.
Mostly, yes. It's contained.
But what happens when that barrier, the one butyrate helps build, gets weak or leaky? Maybe from poor diet, stress, medications.
Right. If the gut barrier is compromised, too much LPS can slip through from inside the gut into the bloodstream.
And that's bad news.
That's bad news. When high levels of this toxin hit the blood, it triggers systemic inflammation, affects the whole body, including the brain.
And the consequences of that kind of sustained inflammation, especially high LPS levels, that's where the links to brain disorders get serious.
They do. The research shows a strong association. It's important to note that an association between chronic inflammation, high blood LPS, and the kind of pathology seen in serious brain disorders. The sources specifically link elevated LPS and the resulting inflammation to severe depression, dementia, and even schizophrenia.
Wow. Severe depression, dementia, schizophrenia.
Linked
back to gut barrier integrity and this LPS toxin.
It really reinforces the idea that your gut health isn't just about digestion. It seems fundamental, not just peripheral, to your neurological health.
Okay, that context is incredibly powerful. But the good news, I suppose, is that if the problem involves bacteria and what they produce, we have some control over that system, right?
We absolutely do. Which leads us nicely into our final segment. Let's talk about the tools, the nutrition, the targeted supplements we can actually use to optimize this axis.
Right. Actionable stuff.
So since we know that gut bacteria affect everything from, barrier integrity to anxiety levels, changing and supporting that microbial community seems like the best path forward. And we can start by looking at biotics.
Okay. We know probiotics, live bacteria for health benefits. But the sources used a more specific term. Psychobiotics. What's that?
Yeah, psychobiotics are basically a subset of probiotics, sometimes prebiotics too. They specifically provide a mental health benefit when ingested in adequate amounts.
So not just any probiotic yogurt off the shelf.
Not necessarily. Not every strain qualifies. But targeted research is showing that some specific psychobiotic strains can effectively improve symptoms of stress, anxiety, and depression. They're like the special ops forces in the probiotic world.
Got it. Specific strains for specific mental benefits. And then there's the fuel for these bacteria, prebiotics.
Right. Prebiotics are the fibers we can't digest, but our beneficial gut bacteria love to eat. Fermentable fibers.
Like the ones that produce those SCFAs we talked about.
Exactly. And the research here is getting super specific too. For example, one particular prebiotic, galactooligosaccharides or GOS, has shown real potential for reducing depressive symptoms in some studies.
GOS. Okay, so it's not just eat more fiber. It might be about specific types of fiber for certain benefits.
It's heading that way. It points towards targeted strategies for mental well-being, leveraging those SCFA pathways.
Okay, beyond supplements, let's hit the food. The sources laid out 5 kind of core nutritional pillars for the gut-brain axis. Where should we start?
Let's start with the one maybe most famous for brain health itself. Omega-3 fatty acids.
Oily fish, flax seeds, walnut.
Exactly. They're highly concentrated in the brain, vital for structure. But here's the cool GBA angle. They don't just benefit the brain directly, they also encourage the growth of beneficial bacteria species in the gut.
Ah, so they work on both ends.
Seems like it. They reduce the risk of brain disorders potentially through that microbial route too. It's a dual action.
That's genuinely exciting. Okay, pillar number 2. Foods that actually deliver the microbes themselves.
Fermented foods. Think yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, tempeh.
The ones with live cultures.
Right. They often contain healthy microbes like lactic acid bacteria. And the really deep insight here, eating these foods has been shown in some studies to actually alter brain activity.
Alter brain activity. How?
In regions involved with emotional processing, for example, it suggests a direct line from fermented food consumption to how your brain is functioning emotionally.
Okay, fascinating. Pillar 3. The basics, maybe. High fiber foods.
The workhorses, whole grains, nuts, seeds, fruits, vegetables, all the stuff we know is good for us.
And the mechanism here is mainly the prebiotic fiber, right? Feeding the good guys.
That's the core of it, fueling that SCFA production we keep coming back to. And we have human evidence for the mental benefits too. Eating these prebiotic fibers has been shown to lower levels of the stress hormone cortisol.
Lower cortisol just from fiber.
That's what some studies suggest, a direct link between diet, the gut, and your stress response.
Okay, number 4 sounds more fun. Polyphenol-rich foods.
Definitely enjoyable. Polyphenols are these powerful plant chemicals. You find them in cocoa, dark chocolate,
Nice.
green tea, olive oil, coffee, dark berries, loads of colorful plants. Now, most of these aren't actually digested much by us. They pass down to the colon.
For the bacteria to munch on.
Exactly. Your gut bacteria metabolize them, and this creates a really beneficial loop. It increases the populations of healthy gut bacteria, and the chemicals produced from polyphenol digestion are associated with better cognition, better mental clarity.
So coffee and dark chocolate might actually be helping my gut microbes help my brain. I like that.
In moderation, the evidence points that way. And finally, pillar 5 brings us back to neurotransmitters, tryptophan-rich foods.
Tryptophan. Turkey, right. The sleepy.
That's the classic example, yeah. Turkey, eggs, cheese, nuts, seeds. Tryptophan is an essential amino acid. Your body can't make it, you have to eat it.
And why is it key for the GBA?
Because your body uses tryptophan as the direct precursor, the raw ingredient, to make serotonin.
Back to serotonin.
Exactly. So focusing on getting enough tryptophan in your diet provides a direct, powerful food-based route to support the production of one of the major chemical messengers running that gut-brain communication line.
This has been, wow, a real deep dive into this inner world. It's vastly more complex and interconnected than I think most of us ever imagined.
It really is.
So just to synthesize the core takeaways here, this connection, the gut-brain axis, it's not just some vague idea. It's physically rooted in, what was it, 168 million gut neurons.
Yep. And the vagus nerve carrying signals constantly, mostly upwards.
Plus, massive production of key neurotransmitters like serotonin in the gut and all these crucial chemicals being churned out by our gut microbes.
And critically, we've established this whole system is responsive. You can influence it. You can leverage this connection by, well, strategically focusing your diet.
On those 5 pillars, omega-3s.
Fermented foods, high fiber foods, those polyphenol-rich foods like cocoa and green tea.
And making sure you get enough tryptophan. Maybe looking into targeted psychobiotics if needed.
Exactly. It's about feeding a system that influences everything from how strong your brain's protective barrier is, to your mood, to your day-to-day stress levels.
Okay, so as we close out this deep dive, let's leave everyone with something to think about. We know that immune connection means the gut-brain axis basically controls which inflammatory signals get into the body.
Right, that barrier function is key.
And considering that inflammation, driven by things like LPS from leaky gut, is strongly associated with really severe conditions, dementia, schizophrenia, severe depression. It raises a really important question about our own agency, doesn't it? What small, maybe measurable dietary or microbial change could you track just for yourself this week? Something to personally witness and maybe prove this fundamental connection exists between your gut and your overall state of mind. The conversation inside you, it never stops. Understanding it means you get a chance to steer it.